Welcome to episode 2 of the Conservative Coalition. We have a special guest today, Hotep Jesus. Hotep is an author at hotepnation.com and was famous for walking into Starbucks and demanding reparations. He approached the barista and said, "Hey, I heard y'all are racist and I'm here for reparations." And he got a free cup of coffee. Hotep Jesus was featured on mainstream media outlets like Fox and InfoWars after his video went viral. Hotep, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. I love the introduction, man. That's a lot of love, man. How are you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
Had an alien land in my backyard, Mort, and we were just chopping it up back there. But he stays on the dark side of the moon right now. That's why I was a little late today, so I just gotta apologize real quick for that.
All good. We're glad that you're here.
Hey, I didn't know ET could cause so much trouble.
Yeah. I guess what I'm most famous for or infamous for is working with Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Following my role with one of his companies, I launched a sports drink with Carmelo Anthony. Been marketing for about 2 decades now in the world of digital marketing and brand strategy. I'm the author of Twitter Marketing, How to Build a Cult-Like Following, which is available now at booksbybrian.com. I'm an author. I do write on hotepnation.com. I am one of the voices of Hotep Nation alongside Uncle Hotep, Mike Doe, Phoenix, and the rest of the crew. And I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on, man.
How are you?
Now let's go into the video that made Hotep so famous.
We about to go inside, get my free coffee. Y'all ready? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right, I heard y'all was racist, so I came to get my free coffee.
I saw that.
Yeah, I heard you guys don't like black people, so I wanted to get my
Not our store.
Starbucks reparations
Not
voucher.
our store.
What's that?
Is that a real thing?
It's a real thing.
I mean, I'll give it to you. I saw that on my Twitter last night. I was like,
Yeah, I need a free
I'll
coffee.
give you a free coffee.
That's what I'm talking about. This is justice.
It was a while.
Get your free coffee out here, man. You gotta get your Starbucks reparations, man. Huh? Yeah, this is how we do, man. Black Lives Matter, baby. Amanda, you are
It's actually
great.
my last day here until the fall.
Is it? You're amazing.
Thank you.
Hotep, we want to learn more about you. What is Hotep about first?
Hotep, not to be cliche, but it's mind, body, and soul. You know, a lot of movements out here are just either all mind or all body, and we try to take a holistic approach. So in the lifestyle of Hotep is often found plant-based eating, meditation, many esoteric rituals. But when we talk about Hotep Nation itself, you know, it's about responsibility and accountability. So, you know, like we used to say, like when I worked for 50, man, it was a thing where we said, you know, you weren't allowed to bring up a problem unless you had a solution ready for it, at least even a potential solution, you know. When I was on tour with Demic, you know, me and him had, because we had been around so many people that just always had excuses. So our thing was we filtered out people we wanted to work with based upon excuses. So if they gave excuses, we were just like, all right, we don't want to work with them. So our motto was no excuses. So like, no matter what, you had to show up, you had to be there, you had to perform. And that's what Hotep's about. It's like, no matter what the hurdle is, you know, we still got to hit the finish line, you know, that the hurdles are nothing but plots to our story. So if we look at it like that, you know, bad things that happen to us or, you know, unfortunate events can be looked at as positive through that lens.
That's a good message. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of translates into what Hotep actually directly translates into. And if I'm not mistaken, it literally means to be at peace, whether that's with your surroundings or yourself, being able to accept all the bad things with the good. That's part of being at peace. Am I not right?
Yeah, you know, the actual term, the Kemetic term Hotep, has several meanings. So it could be to be at peace. It could mean to be at rest. It could mean rest as in death. So there's several meanings to the word Hotep, and then Hetepu. Hetepu would be more of the greeting in ancient Kemet. And my OG Shaka Akmos likes to say that Hotep means satisfaction. You know, that's his big thing. You know, we say Hotep, it really means satisfaction. But the most common definition is, you know, peace. And the conscious community for a long time have always used Hotep as a greeting. So you enter a room, it's like Hotep, Hotep, you know, as like a greeting, kind of like saying peace.
And weren't you actually getting called Hotep originally as more of, I guess, an insult? That's where you picked it up from?
Yeah, absolutely. When the whole Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, Eric Gardner situation went down, you know, I was at that time, I want to say I was like leaning more liberal, right? Because I'm like, these are my brothers, they're dying in the street. And then when it came time to talk about solutions, it seemed like nobody wanted to talk about solutions. And I'm just like, you know, what's the point in crying about this stuff if we're not going to take action? So I would just offer suggestions and solutions, and those solutions often were met with pejoratives, like Hotep, you know, like shut up, you ashy Hotep, shut up Hotep, shut up Hotep, you know, that type of thing. Right. You know, so it happens so often. I kind of just like, well, maybe that's what I am in these people's eyes. And if they're going to take this word, which to me is sacred to, you know, my OGs is sacred, and they're going to take this word and flood Google with all these negative connotations to it, somebody has to jump in and say, hey, like, nah, you're not going to do that. Turn it around and make it something positive. So that's kind of like what we did. We jumped in there and, you know, at least tried to help, you know, to turn that moniker around, and give it a different light. And yeah, that's where it came from. And Hotep Jesus kind of happened the same way. I used to tweet a lot more spiritual and a lot more philosophical. You know, my tone of my voice was more philosophical. So one day this guy enters my mentions and he's like, what do you think? You're some type of Hotep Jesus? And I was just like, I kind of like that. So I ran with it.
You're right. What you said just was something I realized in the last several years, that there's a big problem in the culture where nobody's trying to take responsibility for their actions, and they're just trying to play the victim card, and nothing's really getting done. And I'm glad that what you're trying to do is get people to take charge, take responsibility, and be a better person, be the best version of themselves.
Absolutely. When I set up my email list, you know, we have two email lists. We have one, which is the Hotep Nation, and we have another one through my free download, monetizing social media. That's exactly what I push. You know, it's self-reliance and getting from point A to point B, without getting stuck on the hurdles.
What's your political ideology? Because it seems like you're conservative when you're on the news, because you're always dogging on liberals, and I find it hilarious because you have that open hatred for it, and I think that's even too biased for Fox News.
I think it depends on the policy, so we have to break it down in each policy, because some policies I may disagree with conservatives and I may agree with liberals, but for the most part, I would say I'm team conservative. If somebody asked me, they say, hey, what's your political aligning? I would say Hotep first. But, you know, most people won't even understand what that is. So to make it easy, I would say conservative, definitely team conservative. The liberals have been controlling my people, you know, going back to Marcus Garvey's OG Hotep, the UNIA. You know, he's the one that really was pushing a real movement that could help Black people, which was about, you know, just building business and taking advantage of the free market, and a migration back to Africa and working with Africa. You know, they call it Pan-Africanism. So working with the continent. And it seems like the Black liberal is, one, opposed to Africa unless it's Wakanda, you know, some fictional place. You know, or they're just against our philosophy, which is no excuses. You know, they kind of want to just cry about, you know, white supremacy and racism or whatever. But you know, it's the fact that when you look at history and you look at Marcus Garvey, you know, it's like 1913, 1920s. It's like, damn, we've been dealing with this liberal issue like this long, this left wing issue for this long. So it's like, you know, I have many options on what I can do in this political spectrum, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to join up with the conservatives because what's at the end of the road, it has benefits because of being associated with the conservative party. See something in it for us.
Great.
So how much let's call it dislike and distrust have you gotten from the rest of the Liberal Party and especially the mainstream media after coming out and doing those things, and especially admitting you're a conservative? Like there's been a few others who have done it, and I've seen their names get slung through the mud as soon as they came out with "I have a different opinion." So have you seen any kind of reactions like that, or has it been mostly positive?
You know, we have a war, I would say, with the evil left black media, and you know, they consistently through their media networks slander Hotep. So I kind of have no choice but to adamantly oppose. But can you repeat the question one more time?
How much crap do you get? Like calls, death threats, people saying like negative things about your movement, trying to erase you from a positive view in the public eye?
You know, the funny thing is, we used to get more slander 2 years ago than we get now. We're getting way more respect in the black community online, on the Twitter world, because, you know, Black Lives Matter has been exposed. Sean King isn't black, you know, etc. You go down the line. They don't really come after me because I'm too sarcastic and witty. So they kind of like have a hands-off approach with me. They know not to fuck with me. Like I'm the wrong one to fuck with. Because, you know, what they want to do is they want to get you emotional. They want you to react so they can get your account banned, you know?
Right.
You know, it's best to just be as witty as possible. And I'm just naturally sarcastic. So, you know, I think that, and I'm blocked by most of them too.
Somehow that does not surprise me. They seem to avoid being exposed to any points of view except for their own. It's a trend we've seen for a while now.
Yeah, that was another issue I had, you know, back when I was, you know, so-called, I don't even know if I was left-wing. I probably wasn't left-wing, but when I had some sympathy towards the black movement or whatever it's called these days, you know, I just, you know, it's just sad, man. It's just sad.
So Hotep, I remember after you became famous, you tweeted something about Dave Rubin not getting back to you on his show or to come on his show and make an appearance. And I was wondering, did you ever get him to respond and making a scheduled appearance to get you on?
Nah, David Rubin pretty much ignored me.
See, we were planning the show right when all this happened, and I seen that tweet. And like, Cody, we got to get started quick because we need this man on our show.
Nah, I'm just a regular guy, man. I just have a little bit more balls than the average person to say what I feel.
We need more people like that these days.
I agree.
So, still on the same kind of topic of not being able to share opinions and that kind of thing. You saw what Kanye West did recently, right? He came out and he was talking about like, hey, we can think for ourselves, people. Like, we don't have to be part of a collective. We're individuals. And there was a lot of negative feedback from that, especially from the media. A lot of backlash calling him mentally incompetent, which ironically enough they said the same thing about Trump as well. But what do you think about what he said? Like, I found it inspiring, but I'd like to kind of get your opinion on it.
Kanye has always inspired me. He's somebody I look up to. You know, what he's doing is nothing different from what he's done in the past. I think that a lot of people are just now being introduced to Kanye. So, you know, if you would have said, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, how many conservatives were actually checking for Kanye or had love for Kanye, probably, you know, very few. After this whole episode and working with Trump, now all of a sudden, you know, everybody's like liking Kanye. But this has always been Kanye. He's just the guy that's going to say something that's mind shattering. He's going to challenge the status quo. He's going to go left when everybody goes right. He does it musically. You know, when everybody was doing one thing, he went a whole nother way. When rap was like, all shoot 'em up, bang, bang, sell drugs, you know, he was in a pink polo. So Kanye's always been polarizing. It's just fun to watch. I think that his mission and the things that he wants out of life are just like really like high set goals, but they're selfless goals. They're not goals that are just for him. You know, it's like things that people, like all of humanity, can benefit from. You know, like he's the type of person that wants to make music free, you know, and sharing of music free, and the whole, you know, clearing sample stuff he hates. I think he's just like a man of the people.
A lot of conservatives think that Kanye is probably going to be anti-Trump or anti-conservatives later on. He's just going to change his mind soon. Do you think that'll happen, or do you think he'll be pretty consistent in valuing other people's opinions and Donald Trump?
Nah, Kanye's always been conservative. He's Kanye's Hotep, man. When you go look at his power video, and he's got, you know, the pharaoh. I want to say it's Anubis. No, it might be another one of those Egyptian gods like around his neck. You know, he's always been Hotep. So seeing him switch, probably not. He may be more middle. He may come more middle than some people like. But to say that, you know, he would dislike Trump, nah, Kanye doesn't care about public opinion to just change his mind like that.
Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed. He don't care. He's going to be Kanye, and he's going to be more real than probably most people on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Kanye and Trump, what is your personal opinion about Trump the man and Trump the president?
Trump the man and Trump the president is the same person to me. I think Trump the man is the American dream. You know, you want to come up in America and build hotels and call shots and not give a fuck. You know, that's what he embodies. To have him in office, I thought was great. It's been a while since we had somebody that was real in the White House. And I mean real because a lot of people are just doing like what the publicist says, what the press secretary says, what the PR person says, and stand this way and act this way and don't do that and do this. And it's just so artificial. And I think that's why everybody's like taken back by Trump, because it's like the first time you have a person that goes into the White House and is actually themselves. You know, we don't even have that at the workplace. It's forbidden. In politics, it's just got like politicians that stand up there and say what you want to hear. And I know, I understand that you know, you do have to say what people want to hear to a certain extent, but, you know, not at the expense of what you truly believe in. And, you know, I think that whatever Trump says or does, you know, most of the time, I think he truly believes it.
Yeah. So when Trump the man, I didn't really care for, and I was a liberal back then, but Cody, we could do another episode on how we transition. But as a person, I'm not sure I don't know if he's really a good person because of everything he said and all the controversies. But as a president, I love him. He's great. He stands up for America. And the rest of the world is now respecting us. He's having he brought more opportunities from overseas here. More companies are creating jobs, lower taxes. North Korea, whatever. We'll get to that later, but hopefully something good happens with that. and unemployment for minorities is at records low, and even in the entire country. Yeah, that's major accomplishments, and lower regulation. That is great. Hopefully, he'll address the healthcare crisis next.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not one to judge somebody's personal character until I meet them and feel their vibe. So I reserve the right to draw a judgment.
Well, that being said, Trump has done some gross things, some things that you definitely don't want aired out in public. Said a few words that he shouldn't have, like the whole linked video when he was still running, where he was in the trailer with one of his friends and he was talking about grabbing her by the woo-ha. Probably not something you want to.
That's American culture, man. I think that's another thing that I don't like about people. They sit up there and they act like that's not how Americans speak. That's exactly how Americans speak, man. That's gym talk. That's locker room talk. Guys talk like that, and any man that's gonna walk around this earth and say guys don't talk like that is a damn liar. We've said things way worse than that in the locker room talk. I've heard way worse things than that in the locker room. So when everybody gets on him about that, I'm like, stop being pretentious. You hear worse in Grand Theft Auto, so I don't want to hear that shit.
We all said crazy things with our friends, and you're right. He just was guilty of having it recorded. And the counter argument to that whole what was it? What was his name? I forgot his name. Who he was with? Billy Bush. He was with Billy Bush. Was that it was about consensual grabbing of the explicit, not just walking up to people and grabbing them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and I completely agree with you on that. I mean, the last time I actually had a friend of mine who's a little more towards the liberal side say how inappropriate it was and how bad it was of him to do that. I said, remember we were talking yesterday about that one girl you want to go on a date with? And then he just kind of shut up after that. So, but that being said, in my opinion, actions speak louder than words. And during the primaries and during the running, and even after he's come into office, I think he's proven to be a positive force of reckoning. That being said, though, I've heard a lot of arguments that Hillary would have fit that bill better. A lot with her character being higher and more upstanding than his. What do you think about that? Like, would you have preferred to see Hillary in office, or I know it's an odd question, but
oh God, no. Oh no. I mean, she would have gotten up there and been, artificial, which is what people like, fake is in right now. But me and Hillary, hell no. She's a damn crook, man. She doesn't even like black people, man. She had black slaves. She was using prison labor for help at her house. Like what? Like you got prison labor at your house? Like what kind of shit is that?
Yep, the Clintons are really famous with controversy, and people are now starting to actually care. Bill Clinton has been messing up on the interviews lately, and I guess it's okay. Basically, he did a flub where basically back then you could harass women and get away with it, but now times have changed. No, wrong is wrong. You cannot do whatever behavior you did before at any time. It's morally wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been morally wrong. It's just a matter of social media now. Social media is putting things out into the public, so people just getting eyes on it, but not much has changed. They even say like what they call like catcalling and street harassment and all that stuff. Like, man, like that stuff doesn't exist like how they say it does. Like we need to understand that there's context with that stuff. So if I yell something out my window to a girl, I can make her smile, but that's because I got swag. You know what I'm saying?
If I do it, I'll do it.
Like you could really make somebody's day, with a nice compliment. I think that there's just some scumbags out here that say the wrong shit and don't have swag. Sometimes that's what it is. They don't have swag. So when they saying something, they think they being nice, but they're not. They're saying something that's actually like really rude and stupid.
Yeah. A good example of that is if I walked up to a pretty girl, I would probably be arrested right away on my approach. But if Brad Pitt went up and was a little aggressive in his approach, they would find us flattering.
Well, that's because you live in California, and
I mean, money always gonna knock all that stuff out, right? So if you got money and you look like money, you know, a woman's gonna change. But it's the same thing with guys and looks. You know, certain chicks, she don't look good. You'd be like, ugh. Yeah,
what day in school or what year did they teach swag? Because I missed that day.
You gotta be born with it. It's genetic.
Can I go to Costco and get a box of swag?
I could teach it to you. It'd be like $300 a month. You need about 6 months. I could definitely turn you into a swag artist.
Thank you.
Man, that's not a bad deal. You should run with that. Help make a book out of it. I bet that'll sell today.
Swag for dummies.
Yeah, man. I got a couple of relationship books in the holster, so it's definitely coming.
How to get a girlfriend without being an SJW?
Really, it's like how to get a girlfriend without going to jail. Right?
And I mean, and further to your point, the catcalling and stuff, you're right. I don't see that happen a lot. Hell, I live in Vegas. If there was any place in this green earth that you would see catcall after catcall and inappropriate comments from drivers by, it would be here. And most of the men are respectful. Like not complete gentlemen, but you know, you never see the inappropriate kind of stuff that men are being accused of doing these days.
Yeah, definitely blown up out of proportion.
That being said, though, I want to go back to your video real quick. What prompted you to go and get the coffee reparations? And have you been able to repeat that? Have you been able to successfully do it again?
I mean, I tried Target. Target gave me a discount. Target has a Starbucks location in each one.
Right.
They didn't give me a free coffee, but they offered me a discount. I mean, probably right now, I don't know if I can get away with it.
You're too famous now, right?
But, you know, it's about timing, relevance. You know, I when I went into the Starbucks, that story was fresh. It was just like trending the night before on Twitter, you know, so I struck while the iron was hot. And the idea came from God, man. You know, all ideas, all thoughts come from God or consciousness or, you know, higher mind. So it just kind of like beamed into my head, like, do this. And I was like, ooh, I like that. Let's do that. And so I did it.
I mean, hell, it worked, and you got a free cup of coffee.
Hell yeah. His coffee wasn't bad. I like Dunkin' Donuts better, but it wasn't bad.
And
now, I could swear I could hear it in the video, and I wanted to ask you. I could have sworn I saw that was your son in the video, right?
Yeah.
I could have sworn I heard him say, "Oh, you got lucky with that one."
Yeah, he did. He didn't think I could pull it off. He thought I was.
So you actually told yourself what you were doing before you even did it.
Yeah, well, I turned the camera on, and I'm like, he heard what I was saying on camera, like I'm about to go in here and get a free coffee. And if you listen closely in the beginning, you hear him say lies because he doesn't think I'm going to be able to pull it off. My son is he's just like me. It's just he's my twin, and we're very skeptical people. We challenge every thought. So a lot of people, when they raise their kids to not challenge them, and I raise my kids different. I want to open the door to challenge. That way he can get comfortable challenging things and challenging thoughts and challenging people, so that when he gets older, it's just like second nature. And we're genetically disposed to being skeptics. My dad was a skeptic. I'm a skeptic. He's a skeptic. You know what I'm saying? So it goes all the way down the lineage. But yeah, that's my little guy right there, man. He's hard on me.
Hotep, can I get a shout out to Veronica Young from you? She's a big fan.
Veronica Young. Where's Veronica Young live at?
SoCal.
SoCal?
She's a fine young sister, a good friend of mine.
Oh, it's a black lady?
Yeah. And conservative.
Conservative? Shout out to Veronica Young out in SoCal. I love you, baby. I appreciate you, yo. Follow me on Twitter, man. Let's link up.
Thank you.
No doubt. Veronica.
Has it been difficult after posting this video and after doing some of the anti-BLM stuff and coming out as a conservative? Has it been harder to sell books? Has it been harder to get recognized out there? Or has it actually been helpful to your cause? Like, is it backlash if you got demonetized?
No, it's helpful, man. It's helpful. If I would have, and me and my business partner spoke about this a couple of years ago, and we were just talking about how we wanted to break out of being a black brand, mostly because black people tend not to spend with you until like you get the validation from some cosign from some celebrity or you're on TV a lot. It's harder in the beginning stages. You know, you're going to struggle a lot. They don't want to support because they're so competitive, you know, crabs in the barrel. Unless you're clicked up, you know, clicked up with the feminists, clicked up with the LGBT, you know, talk about white people all day, you know, then they'll support, you know, as long as you're pretending to be Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or whatever. Then, yeah, you know, you can kind of do that. But I'm just like, I don't want to sell my soul to sell this book. I want to be who I am to sell this book and sell anything I got. So, you know, 5 years ago, I hated white people. You know, a year before that, I didn't have a problem. So I was like going through like these psychological phases. And then, you know, I kind of came to realize like really what it was more like spiritual. And the more I got into spirituality, the more I realized like these shells that we have mean they're not all there is. Let me say that. There's higher things that taking place. So I wanted to be the higher version of myself, and hating people is going to weigh your soul down. So I always just wanted to, you know, say, well, I'm going to open up my message to everyone, you know, no matter the race, and see who receives it, you know. And you know, since I put my book out, I've gotten a lot of support. Our Patreon, the Hotep Nation Patreon, I'd probably say it's 90% white people. I would jump out the window and say if we were only black and right wing, we'd probably have about $10 in there. You know.
Well, at least we know Veronica would be on your side.
Well, this is a different type of right wing. So you got like right wing Hoteps, which are basically a hybrid between a liberal and a Hotep. So what you get is a very conservative black who wants to hate white people and talk about white supremacy all day. So it's like that hybrid. It's like this middle area between, is it between me and the liberal? Yeah, it's probably somewhere between me and the liberal. So I'd probably be like right wing. You know, I'd probably be in the middle. You know, they'd be to my right, and then the liberals would be to my left, and I'd probably be, you know, the most central out of the two movements. You know, I think Hotep is probably the most level-headed. You know, like I have no problem, you know, addressing police brutality, but at the same time, I'm gonna say, if we policed ourselves, then we wouldn't have to worry about police brutality. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also not going to say, oh, all cops are evil and all white people are evil. I'm like, nah, that's not true either. You know, so, you know, I try to keep a very level head when it comes to stuff.
All right. Let's see if there's any questions for Hotep in the live chats. If not, we can move on to news. All right, everybody, you got 20 seconds to ask Hotep a question.
Somebody said something about Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger is the one that created Planned Parenthood, and she wanted to basically limit the population of undesirables. And she was known to kick it with the KKK. And here we have the black liberals, especially the black feminists, they get awards from Planned Parenthood, so they're in bed with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood kills more black bodies than any police, but if I say that, I won't get any love from the left. So that's another thing about, like putting out my book and just being an entrepreneur and being black, like I'd have to be like pro Planned Parenthood. And it's just like, nah, I'm not pro Planned Parenthood. That thing doesn't do anything for them. Even, they say they Planned Parenthood, but the only thing they give them is prenatal vitamins. And them things aren't worth a damn anyway. But yeah, man, it's just trash, man. Somebody said, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. About that, so Planned Parenthood kills many black babies per year. But to counter that, a lot of people who do get abortions do so because they're not financially capable of having a child, and it wouldn't be good for either one. So would you say that, would you change your mind on that, or?
No, I wouldn't. No, I still wouldn't. I understand why people get abortions. What I'm saying is that if there was no abortion clinic, people would be more responsible with their private parts.
I believe that also, and I agree with you. But when I talk to my liberal friends about this, that's what they always try to use. But yeah, it might suck for a while. People need to get used to personal responsibility. But in the end, it's going to work out.
Yeah, I'm all about long-term planning. So there may be drawbacks in the short term, but in the long term, if it helps the community, then we should do it. I think we also would have to lift the welfare system. I'm kind of like dictatorial in this sense, where they would say it would need to be some sort of phasing out of Planned Parenthood and phasing out of welfare, maybe. But I'm also a big fan of just cutting that shit the fuck off right now. Just press a button, boop, off. Now everybody panic, figure it out,
But you understand, no politician would ever do that because they won't get elected. So they need a plan and slowly implement it or replace it with something better. I think Trump was planning on doing box meals or something like that instead of giving them money, and that might be a good.
Nah, just cut it off and make the people work it out, man. Government intervention is what's killing us. So much government intervention is killing people. What'll happen is if you cut it off overnight, people will start, it'll probably be trending on Twitter. Dictator Hotep Jesus just cut off welfare and Planned Parenthood overnight.